That easy. Gail asked me to speak to the husbands, and I know we have a lot more women here than we do men. I'm going to talk to the guys that are here, but I want you to take some notes, ladies, because what I'm going to talk about, you can share with your husband, and if he's like, oh, that's totally weird, then you're going to sign somebody eventually that has a weird husband like me who loves Premier. You're going to be able to share these things with them. You know, they may show an interest in wanting to be a little more involved, and so that's what this is. So I want you to take notes, share this with somebody in your downline whose husband is interested in getting a little more involved. So I'm going to talk to you on a few ways of how I stay encouraged as a man in Premier, and how I encourage my wife, Kimberly. She's so cute. How I encourage her in the business and help motivate her through things as well. But before I share, I'm going to just share our story and how we got into Premier. Because I think it's really important to know why you got into Premier. And then as you progress our whys change sometimes. And so we need to go back and say, well, why am I still in Premier, right? So let me just take you back. Kimberly and I, we graduated from high school. We're 18. Some 5-year plan. Who had a 5-year plan when you got married? Isn't that awesome? And then we got pregnant 6 months later, and then the 5-year plan went completely out the window, right? And so anyway, so we found out 6 months later we were expecting our first child, and we were excited and scared to death at the same time. Only 19 years old. Anybody been there? Young with kids? You can do it. Our kids are kind of normal. But we have an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old right now. But anyway, so we prayed about it, and I said, you know, she was working at the time, and we decided that we wanted her to be a stay-at-home mom. We were really young. We weren't obligated to a lot of debt or anything. So we're in a good position to do that. And so we made the decision for her to stay home. And if we fast forward 8 years, now we have 2 kids, and a boy and a girl, and a lot of debt. Because the year before that, this was in 2009, my wife had several unexpected surgeries that she had to go through. And we didn't have any medical insurance at the time. So thank God the hospital, they were willing to work with us and wrote a great deal of it off, but then we wound up owing about $10,000 in medical debt. I work at a bank. I've been in the banking industry since I graduated from high school. And I'm on a salary, so I couldn't work anymore and make any more. So we needed an extra income, you know. And so me being the very wise and spiritual leader of the home that I am, had a great idea in my car driving down the road. You know, sometimes your best idea is just driving through like a Burger King or something. I think I was on my lunch break. So I came home with my great idea, and I stopped Kimberly, and she's washing dishes, doing laundry, whatever stay-at-home moms do, you know, whatever they do. And just kidding. Whatever it is you do. And so I came home and I was like, babe, I've got this really awesome idea of how we can make some extra income. And she was like, what? She stopped washing dishes. She was like, well, what is it? And I said, you should get out and get a job. And she was like, that's not what I was thinking you were going to say. And her eyes were so big because she had been a stay-at-home mom for these 2 kids for 8 years. And the thought of her getting back into the workforce scared her absolutely to death. But she knew we needed the extra income, and she started filling out applications and working up her resume of a stay-at-home mom. You know, I can wash dishes and do laundry. And so she started doing all that. And I was praying a prayer while she was going out and sending out her resumes and filling out applications, and it sounded something like this. Oh God, you know we need the extra money. Please let Kimberly find a good job with a good boss and making a lot of money. Amen. And so I thought, yeah, he's got to hear that, right? It was so from the heart. And Kimberly, I didn't know until later that she was praying her own prayer of something like this. Dear God, don't let anybody call me back. I want to be a stay-at-home mom. Amen. And so that is kind of how our story goes. Now, we all know who is the more spiritual one in the family because God answered her prayer and nobody called her back. And we still needed the extra income. But I will tell you who did call. A good friend of ours called and she said, hey, I'm selling jewelry. It's Premier. She invited Kimberly to come to a show. So Kimberly went over to a show. And Kimberly started talking to her. I was at home with the kids. She called me and she said, hey, I'm at this show and they're saying that we can make 50%. It sounds really, really great. And I was like, wow, that does sound good. She said, I think this is God. And I said, well, maybe it is. And she said, and it's only $1,200 to do this. I was like, I don't think that's God. I think it may be gas, but it's not God. And so, anyway, I told her that night, I said, it is God. And if you want to do this, I will support you 100%. And then I said the inevitable words that every man in this building and every man who is not in this building said, but you better make my money back. You understand? When we're off doing OPs with people, I tell the husbands right there, I know what you're thinking because I thought it. You don't even have to tell me. And it's good to relate to them in that way. We've made our investment back over and over and over. But I'll tell you, in that first year when we were in Premier, with the help of Premier and the home shows and all of that, we paid that $10,000 off in that first year, y'all. There's no way we could have done that. That's awesome. There's no way we could have done that without Premier. And so we got the vision right off. All right, so that's our story, and I'm sticking to it. But I'm going to give you some general ways on how you can stay motivated in the business and focused on your vision. And then I'm going to give you some very practical ways on how you can help your wife. Girls, take notes. Share this with your downline. Give you some very practical ways. Some of them you're going to be like, well, that's kind of stupid. And that's fine, but it's stuff I do. And it's stuff that may be behind the scenes, that a lot of people don't see. But I'm going to tell you what it is. And ladies, before I start talking to the guys, I want to ask you a couple of questions. I'm not going to preach to them and not preach to you a little. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and don't raise your hand, but think in your mind, how many of you would love to see your husband more involved in your business? Oh, I saw you shaking your head. Cheated. Here's another question. Are you giving your husband a reason to be involved? Are you just sitting on the couch and not doing much with your business? And the reason I ask that is because a couple of months ago we had a girl in our downline. She came to a training and she had a baby and she had not held a show in 8 months. She took a really long maternity leave. She would have been fired from any other job, but hey, no quotas at Premier. Woo! So we weren't able to fire her. She wasn't doing anything, but she came to the training and she kept standing there, and everybody's leaving, and she wouldn't say anything, but I felt like she wanted something, so I just said, hey, what's the deal with your business? You haven't done a show in 8 months. Is it something that you still want to do? Because if it is, we'll be glad to help you with it. But if you don't want to do it, well, we'll still love you anyway and go out to eat sometime. But what do you want to do? And, she gave some excuses, and her biggest excuse was, well, my husband just isn't supportive of my business. And I looked at her and I said, okay, you haven't done a show in 8 months. I don't know that I would be supportive of your business either. And sometimes I just throw up words, you know what I'm saying? And I get myself in trouble and I just don't know when to stop. But I said, you haven't done anything. Why should he be supportive of you? So I'm asking you to look at your own business and really, should my husband be supportive of my business? I don't know. I wouldn't be supportive if Kimberly sat on the couch all the time. Would I be supportive of Premier? No. And so here's what I'm saying. If you want your husband to be a little more involved, prove to him that Premier's worth being involved in. Okay? Give him something to be involved in. All right, so I'm going to tell you something. Ladies, if your husband's not here, don't sweat that. Your husband being supportive of this business does not make Premier work. You make Premier work. And it's really great to have a support system at home, I'm sure. But if you don't have a support system at home, go to work anyway. Prove to your husband why he should be supportive and that Premier is something to get involved in. But before we begin encouraging our wives, we need to take a hard look at ourselves, guys. Sometimes that's scary to do. Most guys, we're going to fall into a couple of categories. Okay? And most guys are going to fall into the first category of when they say, oh, Premier, that's something my wife does. And it's good. And I have to watch the kids. And that's most guys, they just, it's here and we make extra money. And then there's weirdos like me who got into the business and I was like, wow, this is awesome. We make all this money and I love Premier and I love all this stuff. And, I love the money, I love the founders, I love the company, I love the people. One of my biggest reasons for staying in Premier is you people. I love to get to know everybody in Premier. Don't you just love these people? Get around a group of people like this and they're just awesome and positive. But listen, whether you have the laid-back husband, whether you are the laid-back husband, or whether you are ready to set the world on fire, I've got a couple of ways to keep you motivated. Here's the first one, okay? Guys who are laid back, you know who you are. Ladies, you know who the guys are in your downline. Here's the best way to stay motivated. Get to rally. Go to rally. Okay? And then for the guys who are like crazy, awesome, woo, premiere, you know, go to rally. That's the same first point. Y'all, rally is so important. And I will never forget my first rally. It was just amazing. And I remember the first men's session that I attended. And all the guys came in, you know, and it was really cool to just know that these were just normal people, you know, not your direct set. Like, they're not trying to sell me something. They're just there to have a good time with everybody else. But we got in there, and there were guys who were so excited about Premiere. You know what I'm saying? And I was excited, and I'm like, hey, there's some other guys who are excited. And then there were guys who weren't excited. And they were like, why am I here? And they thought it was so weird. And then it looked like their wife had dragged them, hog-tied them, and dragged them from Georgia all the way to Texas. And that's the last place they wanted to be. But you know what? When the men of Premiere stood up there and gave their testimonies of how Premiere had changed their lives, how Premiere had changed the lives of their family and the lives of their downline, I'm telling you, no matter if they wanted to be there or if they came in not wanting to be there, when they left, everybody left there with a new or renewed vision for Premiere. And ladies, maybe some of you are here today by yourselves because your husband, he still doesn't get Premiere. Maybe some of you guys here still don't really get Premiere. I mean, we could even have some newer jewelers in here. You know, I think you only have to sponsor 2 to come to this meeting, right? So we could have some new people. And guys, maybe in the back of your mind, you're still thinking, well, is this Premiere thing going to work? Of course it's going to work. But I would invite you to come to Rally, because that's where you're going to see that it really does work. And then for the guys like me, the ones who want to set the world on fire with Premiere, we still need to go to Rally. It's very important, because we're going to be surrounded by people who are like-minded, who love the Lord, who love people. And it's just going to keep that fire going for another 6 months until we can get to regional rally or until we can get to national rally. Go to the roundups. Go to anything you can get to. And hey, not only are you going to learn a lot, and ladies, you're going to learn a lot, your husband's going to learn a lot, everybody's going to love Premiere, but guys, your wife gets to walk around with her trophy husband. And she's like, oh yeah, he's with me. I got him here to rally. And it was a really great experience, and it's just going to encourage her. I will be a trophy husband any day. I'm with her. You know what I'm saying? And Rick, yes, fist pump. All right. Here's the second way you can stay motivated in Premiere. Find your place in the business. Find your place in the business. Find your role. I love what Andy Horner says, that it's not a women's business, it's a women's market. And guys, we can be involved in this business, and we can find our place in Premiere no matter how great or small it may seem. No role is insignificant. I love when we have those brain freezes. Now, whether you've given yourself the title of postage stamp sticker, or whether you do home shows, I'm not going to ask you to do that yet. It's going to have a major positive impact on your business. And you might keep up with the inventory, or maybe you keep up with the finances, with the checkbook. Careful on that one. My wife loves her money. But I do work at a bank, so I always make sure that we're in the black. Whatever you can do to get involved. Those are some little things, you know, that you can find your place in. All right, so let's talk about encouraging our wives. So what is encouragement? I'm going to give you guys a definition, and I will say it slow so you can write it. Encouragement is the act of supplying courage to someone by doing or saying something to inspire them. The act of supplying courage to someone by doing or saying something to inspire them. So let's talk about a few ways that we can encourage our wives and to give her the courage all she can be in Premiere, because I don't know about you, but once Kimberly really got that fire for Premiere, you know, once she got that, it just gave me the biggest sense of joy and fulfillment. And you might ask, well, is it really important to be an encouragement to my wife? I mean, she's the one who signed up to do this. Absolutely, it's important. Because she's going to have days where they're going to be down days, and they're going to be up days. And no matter if you have a wife, ladies, no matter if you are the most dynamic go-getter in the room, or you're the laid-back lady who would rather be sitting in your chair than up here talking, You're going to have all kinds of days. It doesn't matter who you are. Okay? And so it's very important to be an encouragement. And the reason we need to supply her with that courage is, like I said, there are days and there are fears. There are legitimate fears that she's going to have in this business. Maybe it's a fear of the phone. Maybe you have a fear of standing up in front of people and talking, or maybe you have a fear of doing jewelry shows, which is kind of a problem because that's what this is all about. But those are legitimate fears. And I've written down some phobias. These are real phobias. And as ridiculous as they may sound, these are for real. I Googled them, so they have to be real. Bibliophobia. Do you know what that is? It's the fear of books. Isn't that a crazy phobia? Fear of books? Now, I don't really like to read. I know that leaders are readers, so that's why I like listen to tapes. Oh my gosh, CDs, whatever. In my car while I'm driving, we were listening to Gail's, one of her trainings in the car a few days ago. But bibliophobia, fear of books. Ambulophobia, do you know what that is? The fear of walking. That's kind of scary. If you have the opportunity to get up and walk, why would you be afraid of it? Androphobia is, androphobia. Does anybody know what this is? I really hope that nobody in this room has this, because it's going to be a little bit freaky. It's the fear of men. Anybody have that one? My wife has it from time to time. Androphobia. Yes, I know, she's scared of me. Now listen, while your wife may not have any of these phobias or fears, and some of them are ridiculous, she's going to have fears in this business. Ladies, don't you have fears in this business? And I'm going to tell you, as a guy, sometimes they seem really ridiculous to us, but they're legitimate fears. And as the leaders of the home, it is our place to be her biggest cheerleader in Premier and to encourage her and give her the courage to overcome those fears. Now I'm going to tell you something about Kimberly. When she first got in the business, she was scared to death. I went to her training show and she stood there and she shook. This is the necklace and this is the bracelet. And that's how it went. And she was so scared. She was sweating like her fingers and she couldn't do anything. And it was so great to watch. I loved it. It was uncomfortable for her, but I thought, wow, this is going to be fun. But you know, she would have rather been in the corner of that room than in front of those women, because she had fear. I'll give you an idea of how shy, and she's still kind of shy. She can be shy, but I'm going to tell y'all, Premier has changed her life. She's not the same woman she was 5 years ago. It's been an amazing transformation. But I'll tell you how timid and shy she used to be. She was on a middle school dance one time. This is before I knew her. This is like she had a perm, and I don't know. But she was at a middle school dance, and all of her friends are out there dancing. Hey, having a good time. And she stood over, because this is her personality by nature, she stood over here against the wall with her arms crossed. She told me this story. Her arms crossed, and she was weird. And she stood there, and she was so embarrassed to be there, and she didn't like her dress or her hair. Her mom didn't know how to fix her hair. She always had a perm in it. She stood there with her arms crossed for so long that the next day when she woke up, she couldn't raise her arms because she had them crossed so long. Her muscles had all gone out of shape. That is what I married. And that was the jewelry lady. Okay? Thank God we all grow up. I love you, babe. I do. So anyway, listen, I married the person who everybody would have thought she can't do this business. And she's doing this business. She's rocking it out the frame. All right, so here's some ways that you can encourage your wife. Number one, acknowledge that she has a legitimate business. Acknowledge that she has a legitimate business. Guys, it's really easy to see Premier. A lot of times it's just something our wife goes out a couple of nights a week and does, and plays in jewelry and gets to know some crazy people. But it's so much more than that. We needed Premier when we got in Premier, and we still need Premier. And I don't know why you guys got into Premier, but we had a very significant financial need. And we always sit down at the beginning of the year and go over our budget. And I'm going to tell you, without Premier in our life and in our family, it would be really, really tight around the house. Okay, anybody else in that position? You need Premier financially? Okay, well, if you need it financially, then it's time to acknowledge that Premier's a legitimate business and not just a hobby. And getting involved is really going to help you do that. And I've seen so many guys just sit back with their arms crossed and not really care one way or the other. But know that Premier is an awesome company, and that you, ladies and guys, your wife has a huge business opportunity at her fingertips. And being an encouragement is just going to help her go a little further. Number 2, know how Premier works and let everybody else know. Know how Premier works and let others know. Now, do you know the hostess plan? Ladies, guys in your downline, do they know the hostess plan? Do they know how the commission structure works? How does this encourage your wife? Well, it's going to let her know that you're interested in what she's doing. And I'm not talking about going and doing home shows yet. That's coming. I'm simply talking about knowing how the business works. Because if you're anything like me, you're out and about in town, and everybody, who has Walmart? Who goes to Walmart? Okay, we try to go to Target, okay, but sometimes you have to go to Walmart. But you're going to see somebody in Walmart and in Target that you know, and I totally stole this from Mike Basil, love that guy. But when somebody comes up to you and say, hey man, what's been going on? Oh, everything's great. The family's good, the kids are doing good, and our business is really growing. And they're going to say, oh, what business? And there you implement your 30-second commercial. My wife makes 50%. She's able to stay home with the kids, and she sells jewelry. Okay? So guys, have your 30-second commercial ready. It's not hard. We give away 30% in free jewelry, and we make 50% profit. That's all there is to it. That's all you really need to know. But ladies, make sure the guys in your downline know how the plan works. 1 Peter 3:15 says, and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason of the hope that's in you. Now, I know this isn't specifically talking about Premier, but Premier's been a huge source of hope in our lives. That was 1 Peter 3:15. So let's encourage our wives by knowing how Premier works and letting others know. There are people all over America who need Premier. Okay, so it's very important that we all know how it works. Number 3, love her through every peak and every valley. Love her through every peak and every valley. Did they just kiss back there? Okay. Love her through every peak and every valley out there. All right. If you've been in Premier any length of time, and if you are involved in your wife's business in any way, you understand that there are good times and there are bad times. No, not bad times, but there are not so good times. There are peaks and there are valleys. There's going to be high retailing shows, and there's going to be no retailing shows. Okay, how many of you had a no retail show? Hallelujah, can I get a witness? All right. But I'm going to tell you what not to do, and I've heard this from Andy. When your wife comes in, do not say, how much money did you make? Lord, have mercy. Are you stupid? Well, we don't use the S word, but I don't think there's any kids present. Cover their ears. Are you crazy? Because what's going to happen when you say, how much did you make? Or how much did you sell? They're going to say, well, there was one lady there and I sold a $35 necklace. Ah! And then you have to deal with it. Okay? So just don't act. Here's what you say. Did you have a good time? How did it go? Something like that. Let's keep the dollar signs at a minimum. Okay? It's really easy to get caught up in the dollars and cents. But I can't tell you how many times Kimberly's come home and I've said, how did it go? And she said, well, there were a couple of ladies there and the retail's okay, but there was a lady there who was just diagnosed with cancer. And I was able to talk with her and encourage her and pray with her. And so that's really important, guys, to understand that it's not all about the dollars and cents. But I promise when she comes home and says, I had a $1,000 show, that don't hurt. You know what I'm saying? That don't hurt at all. So, all right now I'm going to give you some practical ways on how to help your wife in the business. Ladies, some of these, I'm telling y'all, some of these are so simple you're going to be like, I'm not even writing that down. But this is what I do. Number 1, clean her jewelry. I know. You said you're thinking that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. All right. Who knows what the number 1 enemy of high fashion jewelry is? Moisture. We all know that. And we do the chalk trick. And we say the 5S's, no spraying, no swimming. All right, but guys, how many ladies, be honest, spray your hair with your jewelry on? I'm going to tell you, I've caught my wife doing it. So the stuff needs to be cleaned. Somebody holding it behind your neck does not matter. She is in the front row trying to justify how she can spray her hair and keep her jewelry on. But listen, that stuff needs to be cleaned, okay? It's got gunk all over it. So you're sitting down, cleaning your shotgun or whatever, grab her jewelry case. Clean her jewelry. Look. The cleaner the jewelry is, the more jewelry you're going to sell. It's going to help you guys, okay? To clean the jewelry, I would warn you not to clean it with the same cloth you're cleaning your gun with. That's just going to that's messy. But just clean her jewelry. I told you that's so simple. That it's a great way to help your wife. Who thinks to do that? I've done it. Kimberly's come home. I'm sitting on the floor with the earrings, polishing them with a cloth. Because I'm thinking, I'm about to make some money with this clean jewelry. Because guys are pigs. I'm driven by the dollar signs. Number 2, watch your children and don't complain about it. Now listen, I was going over some of this with Kimberly the other night and I said, have I ever complained about it? Because I'm not about to tell y'all to do something that, not do something that I've done. She said, you never complained. I don't. Because I know that there is a bigger picture to all of this, and I'm willing to wash some dishes and to finish supper and to help the kids with the homework because we need our extra $30,000 a year, okay? I need it. So I'm going to need my baby to go out and work, and I will be the stay-at-home mama for just a few minutes. But listen, it's way bigger. It's way bigger than what's happening right now. We've got to look into the future, and you've got your vision out in front of you. And is what you're doing right now really important? Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, you've got to just buckle down and do what it takes to bring your vision into fruition, okay? Number 3. What am I on time? Have I been talking forever?
You got about 6.
You're great.
Okay. Number 3. Encourage and get to know your downline. Look, some of them people's crazy, okay? And your wife will go crazy with them. So it's very important for the guys to be involved to make sure the craziness is at a minimum, okay? So I'm going to need my wife to be sane to go out and do some jewelry shows. We all have crazy people in our downlines, do you? Yes, we do. All right, so listen, here's the thing. Through the year, this is what I do to encourage my downline. That when we sign a new jeweler and when our jeweler signs a new jeweler in our first, second, and third level, they all have my cell phone. And I ask them with my wife present for their cell phone number. Okay? But we all have each other's cell phone numbers. I'll go out. Okay, what's that red stamp? You guys use that? Okay, the guys don't use it. I'm the only guy in the room who uses that. But it's really good to just go in there and plug in some encouraging words. And the ladies like the little pretty stuff. Okay? I sent out a text a couple of weeks ago that said, you can do it, Jonathan and Kimberly, and send it to everybody in our downline. I'm just talking about texting. It's just really simple. It takes 5 minutes to make it, and a group message, boom, send it out. Send it out individually. We send out birthday cards. I have a stack of cards in my desk. You can get them from the Dollar Tree, 8 of them for $1, okay? We're cheap. But, I mean, you got to write them and let them know that they are precious and they are wonderful and they're doing a good job, or if they're not doing anything, you need to let them know that they're still precious. All right, and so I always sign it, Kimberly and Jonathan. She rarely even knows when I do that. I send those out to all of our downline. Okay, so that's some ways you can keep them encouraged. Give them a phone call. We always make sure that we call our top 3 to 5 every month and just say, hey, you're doing a really great job. And I do that a lot of the times. Okay? Number 4, go to training with your wife. Go to training with your wife. Go check it out. And I'll tell you, in the beginning, I was scared to death. I thought, Lord have mercy. Kimberly said, will you please go to training with me? And at that time, our Valdosta area was really small. We only had like 3 or 4 ladies. But I'm thinking 50 people are going to be there, and in boas and like magic wands and stuff. And I just was not, I didn't know what was about to happen. And so we go to training, and it was really cool. And they weren't crazy. I mean, like some of them are crazy. And you'll have crazy people at your trainings, but guys, you just sit there and you'll learn and just soak it all up, okay? So go to trainings with your wife. And if you don't have a training, conduct your own training. That's what happened to us in Valdosta. Wanda lived 200 miles away, 100 miles away, I don't know. But we didn't have a training to go to, so Wanda said, do your own training. And so we just did our own training. We didn't know what we were doing, but we just started talking, and the girls listened, and they kept coming. So it was really great. Speaking of training, another thing, this is really great. You can do this and nobody will ever know you do it, okay? It's really cool. You can go on YouTube, or you can go on the Senior Leader websites, and you can pull up their trainings. You can go to the core conference calls. You can listen to those trainings. A lot of the times, I will listen to these trainings by myself and then pass on the good ones to my wife. Not saying that all the trainings aren't good, but some of them aren't. Anyway, like, wah, 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 wah. And so I don't pass those on. I pass something on that I think is going to inspire and encourage my wife. But I listen to hours and hours of training and then pass those on. So that's something really great that you can do for your wife. All right, number 5. I'm sorry, I'm trying to speed up. How am I on time? Okay.
You're good.
I'm good. Gail said I'm good, so I'm going to keep going, baby. Number 5. This is scary. Go to a jewelry
Number 6.
Oh, Lord. Clean her jewelry. Watch her kids. Watch her kids that she produced herself. Encourage your downline. Go to training with your wife. Go to a jewelry show. It's not that scary. It's a little scary, but it's not that scary. And I know you're thinking, wow, that's way out of the box. I am never ever going to do that. I'm not subjecting myself to a room full of loud, crazy women. But I promise you, if you will just go and sit, you don't have to do anything. Go and sit in the corner and watch what your wife does 2 or 3 times a night. You'll have a new respect for what she does in this business. It's going to be a huge encouragement for her. Now again, she's got her trophy husband. Hey, you know, and she's like, might kiss you or something afterwards. I don't know. She might like it. But I'm going to tell you something. Here's a little piece of advice about going to jewelry shows with your wife. And I had a problem with this because I like to hear myself. And I went to jewelry shows. Do not go to critique her. Do not. And I'm going to tell you, a lot of you are probably strong ladies and you would not allow your husband to do that anyway. But Kimberly was so nervous and fragile coming into this business, and I'm kind of a perfectionist when it comes to presentation and everything, that when she got finished, I was very encouraging. I thought I was. And I said, she said, how did I do? We'd get in the car, how did I do? I said, you did great. It was really good. But I might would have said this. Or I think maybe when you said that, they may have taken it this way. And I really thought I was doing a favor. I really did. So don't look at me all cross-eyed, ladies. I really did. Guys are stupid. Okay, there's the S word again. I really thought I was doing her a favor, but what I figured out was that I was really breaking her down. And ladies, you have to remember, guys, we are Mr. Fix-It. And if we see a problem, I wanted to fix it. I wanted her to go and do the best that I thought she should do. So I wanted to fix the problem. I'll tell you, I realized on my own that I was causing a problem. That when I went to these shows with her, she would look at me, and I told her later, I said, you don't even know you did this. She would look at me for like reassurance. Am I saying that right? Am I doing that right? And when I saw her doing that, I realized, oh wow, we have a problem here. And so I backed off, and I stopped going to shows. Now, go to the shows, but keep your mouth shut. Okay? Just encourage her and tell her how great she did, even if she just messed all up. Just tell her how great she was. Because I'm going to tell you, the last thing we want to do for our wives is break them down. So be careful when you go to her shows. Number 6. I'm trying, guys. You having a good time? Yeah. Get on Facebook. If you are under the age of like 80, you can do Facebook. We don't have anybody over the age of 80, do we? Sorry. But look, if you are alive, you can do Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook, and I'm going to tell you, this is the easiest one you can do, and this is for the guys and the ladies, y'all. We tell our people, get on Facebook and let people know what you're doing. Most of us have Facebook pages, and guys, how many times have you bragged about your wife on Facebook? Stop looking at your husbands. That is uncomfortable for everybody. How many times have you bragged on about your wife on Facebook? I really try to do that a whole lot, and you know that if you're friends with me. Let me tell you something. It's going to make her feel like $1 million. Ladies, take notes and share this with the guys in your downline. They need to be on Facebook, and they need to be talking about their wives. Brag on her business on Facebook. And you don't have to go into any detail. A lot of times I'll post something like, Kim's at a show, I'm home with the kids and the dog, washing dishes, whatever. But don't say that, because that might make them be like, ooh, I don't want to wash dishes. But anyway, just tell them what's going on. And all you have to say is she's out at a show, and be sure to tag her in the post so that all of her friends can see that and think how great you are as a husband. So I wish my husband was like you. Be her marketing director. You know, I recently heard someone say that there is no such thing as a bad market, just bad marketing. Everybody on Facebook needs to know you give away jewelry. Everybody on Facebook needs to know you make 50%. How many times have you posted? I don't do Facebook. I just look at the post. Well, don't do that. That's crazy. You're not marketing yourself. You're not using it to your advantage. You're insane. I'll tell you that. All right, number 7. Oh, wait, hold on. On that same note, Facebook, I made a Facebook group. How many of you have Facebook groups for your downline? That's locked? Okay, that's really an awesome way to let everybody know something at one time, okay? Really great, so do that. I'll manage that. Number 7, be willing to do a jewelry show in a pinch. I know you're freaking out, guys. Listen, let me tell you what happened to me. I said in a pinch. I didn't say be willing to just go out and do them. My wife came home one night from a show. It was a Friday night. And she'd been sick, and she came home from the show, and she said, I have laryngitis, and I can't do my show tomorrow. And I was like, oh, well, I don't really know what you're going to do then. Could you do the show for me? Oh, no. I'm not doing the show. I'm the marketing director. I'm the financial advisor. I do not do home shows. And she said, please. I said, I'm not doing it. And I had just the ugliest attitude about it. Can you imagine? And so the next day, we went to bed. I said, I'm not doing it. We woke up the next day. She's in there teasing her hair. If any of you need a lesson on teasing, this girl right here can tease it up. She was in the bathroom teasing her hair. And I walked by, and the Holy Spirit of God was on me and said, what kind of leader are you? I walked by that bathroom, and I said, I'll do it. So I had a very willing heart. And she said, do what? And I said, I will do the show. I mean, my Lord. It's either you or the Holy Ghost. I don't know which one's convicting me. And so I went and did the show, and you know what? We had a really great time. I mean, I had been in the business long enough. I knew what I was doing. I had seen her do 1,000 shows. I did it. And you know what? I'm sorry? She absolutely critiqued me, but she didn't have to, because when I got in the car, I said, wow, I am really stinking awesome at this. I should be a jewelry lady. And then this is what she said. How many shows did you book? And I said, none. And she said, I'm the jewelry lady. I didn't book any shows from that show, but we had a really, really good time. But listen, here's the thing. I would have missed a huge blessing if I would have been so stubborn and bullheaded not to go and do that and serve my wife in that way. Now, she did stand beside me. She was Vanna White. She was doing the jewelry while I described it. I mean, can you imagine? It was really funny. Number 8, this is my last point. Pray and pray specifically. Pray and pray specifically. One thing that I try to do before Kim walks out the door is to pray with her. If I'm there, a lot of times she's already gone when I'm getting home from work. But I try to pray with her. And guys, God is a big God. Is he not? And he told us in Ephesians that he is able to do exceeding abundantly above all that we can ask or even think. It's bigger than what we even think. And there is something so awesome about standing in the doorway with your wife, holding her hand and asking God to bless her efforts and to bless the people at her show. There's nothing else like it. Put the money aside and just ask for his blessings on your wife. And letting him know our specific needs. And then seeing those needs met through a little jewelry company called Premier. I don't know what you need, men. I don't know what your wife needs. Maybe it's financial, maybe it's spiritual, maybe it's relational. But I can promise you that there's a God in heaven who wants to meet those needs. And he knows what the outcome's going to be. Isn't that great? Like, why worry about it? He already knows. So my question to you and my challenge is, how can you be an encouragement to your wife? What little thing can you do? What little thing can you say that's going to inspire her and supply her with the courage to do great things in Premier?